Once upon a time, in a small, bright village, there was a girl named Kessie. But Kessie wasn't an ordinary baby, she was truly special. Her mother, Nola, carried her in her womb for 11 months, much longer than most mothers carry their babies. Everyone in the village commented on this, saying, "Wow, that really is a long time." One night, when the sky was dark and a storm was raging outside, Kessie decided it was time to say hello to the world. Nola was home, while the rain fell as if washing away the entire land. The thunder was loud, and lightning illuminated the sky, but inside, Nola wasn't alone. She had Amali, a gentle midwife, by her side. When Kessie was born, everyone noticed she was different. She had both male and female parts, something very rare. Nola and her husband were frightened, as they didn't know what this would mean for Kessie's life. They loved her deeply and wanted her to be happy and safe. So, Nola and her husband whispered to Amali, "Please, keep this a secret. We'll give you a piece of land if you promise not to tell anyone." Amali looked at tiny, perfect Kessie and nodded, "I promise. Kessie's secret is safe with me." Thus began Kessie's life, wrapped in a little mystery, like a cozy blanket. Everyone in the village was eager to see what the special girl, who took so long to arrive in the world, would be like. They hoped she would be happy and were excited to see her grow in the little illuminated village. Kessie grew up, and soon everyone noticed she was very shy and reserved. She preferred to play near home, avoiding the stream where other children gathered. When it was time to bathe, Kessie always found a secluded spot where no one could see her. She was also very reserved in other situations, like when she needed to go to the bathroom, she waited until she found a quiet place. The other children thought Kessie was just shy. "She likes being alone," they whispered, unaware of the great secret she held about her birth. Her parents had asked Amali to keep it a secret, and Kessie knew she needed to protect hers too. It was a special secret, and she was careful to ensure no one found out. She was an intelligent and reflective girl, always finding ways to play alone without making others feel bad. Kessie smiled and waved to everyone but always kept a little space just for herself. Her parents watched her, sometimes worried, but also proud of how Kessie handled everything. They just wanted her to be happy and safe. As the seasons changed, Kessie became the little guardian of the village's secret, with her quiet ways and kind smiles, keeping her special story close to her heart. Everyone in the village began to love her more and more. Despite her shyness, Kessie was very kind. She was always there when someone needed help. If a bird fell from its nest, Kessie would gently put it back. If an elderly woman needed help with her basket, Kessie would quietly come to assist her. Kessie was also very beautiful. Her smile was like the sun after rain, and her eyes sparkled like stars at night. When she walked through the village with her colorful dresses swaying in the wind, people stopped and said, "Look at lovely Kessie. Isn't she beautiful?" Even though she was shy, she always had a smile for everyone. The village children admired her, thinking Kessie was simply the best. "She's so kind," they whispered as they watched her play alone or help the younger ones. The adults also respected her. "She will be someone very special," they said, feeling a warm affection for Kessie. Kessie felt happy to be loved, but sometimes she felt sadness because of her secret. She wished she could play in the stream with the other children or join their games without worry. But she knew she had to be careful. So, she found other ways to include herself in the village, always kind and always loving. Her parents saw her grow so loved and admired by everyone, feeling relieved. They knew Kessie was special, not just because of how she was born but because of the big heart she carried within her. She truly was the village's darling, growing under the watchful and loving gazes of all who knew her. One sunny, bright day, something amazing happened in the village. The most handsome man, with his radiant smile and strong arms, asked Kessie to marry him. Everyone liked Tar because he was very kind. When Kessie said yes, everyone in the village was super excited. The ceremony was the grandest celebration the village had ever seen. Colorful flowers were everywhere, and drums and dances lasted all day and night. Kessie looked stunning in her shimmering dress, appearing as enchanting as the moonlight reflected on the river, and Tar seemed so proud by her side. All the villagers gathered to celebrate, enjoying delicious food and laughing, saying, "Kessie and Tar look perfect together." Kessie felt so much love from everyone, but inside, she was very nervous. She loved Tar deeply, but she was afraid to tell him her secret, that she was different from other women. Every night, when Tar expressed his love in the way husbands do, Kessie would say, "Not yet, my love. Let's wait for the right moment." She tried to sound happy, but inside she was truly worried. Tar, always so understanding, smiled and said, "I will wait for you, Kessie. I love you just as you are." Kessie noticed he seemed a bit confused, which made her even more scared. She really wanted to share her secret. Days turned into weeks, and people in the village began to whisper, wondering why Kessie and Tar weren't as close as other couples. Kessie felt everyone watching her, filled with questions. She squeezed Tar's hand tighter, wishing she could tell him everything. Tar loved Kessie deeply, but her secret kept them distant. She hoped that one day she could share everything with him, but for now, she continued smiling, waiting for the moment she could be completely honest with her wonderful husband. As the moon waxed and waned, Tar began to feel a bit frustrated. Every night, Kessie had a new excuse to say, "Not yet." He truly loved Kessie, but he was growing more confused and a bit sad. He couldn't understand why Kessie, who always smiled and held his hand, wouldn't get closer to him like other wives did. One day, Tar could no longer keep his concerns to himself. He went to talk to Kessie's parents, walking slowly, worried. "I love Kessie very much," he said, "but I don't understand why she keeps saying we should wait. Is there something I should know?" Kessie's parents exchanged worried glances. They loved Kessie as much as Tar did but had promised to keep her secret. "We understand how you feel, Tar," they said gently. "Please be patient with Kessie. She has her reasons, and perhaps she will tell you when she is ready." Tar felt a bit better but left their home feeling even more restless. He went to speak with the village elders, hoping they could give him some advice. "I'm worried," he confessed, "because Kessie and I aren't completely husband and wife in every sense. I respect what she wants, but I also need to understand what is happening." The elders listened attentively and nodded as Tar spoke. But in a small village like theirs, it didn't take long for whispers to start. Soon, everyone was saying, "Tar and Kessie aren't close yet." They whispered that Kessie wouldn't let Tar touch her, much less make love to her. The murmurs grew, becoming louder and spreading through the village. Everyone had something to say or guess, but they tried to keep their voices low because they still cared a lot for Kessie. Kessie felt the change in how people treated her. Each day, she felt more and more distressed, noticing the curious looks and hearing the whispers that stopped when she passed by. The secret she had guarded so carefully now felt like a storm about to break over her. Tar, seeing Kessie becoming more distant, felt really torn. He was frustrated because he wanted to be close to her, but he also didn't want to push her away. The happiness he had felt on their wedding day now seemed so far away, hidden behind all the silent conversations and worried glances. One afternoon, as Kessie walked through the village, she could feel everyone watching her. The whispers and silent conversations became too much for her. She needed to share her big secret with someone who would understand. Kessie decided to seek out her childhood friend, Kachi, who had always been kind and caring. When Kessie arrived, Kachi warmly hugged her and immediately noticed something was wrong. "What troubles you, Kessie?" she asked. Kessie was nervous, and her voice trembled a little as she began to speak. "Kachi, I need to tell you something very personal. You must promise to keep this just between us." Kachi nodded, serious. "You have my promise." "What's happening?" Kessie took a deep breath and shared her secret with Kachi. She explained that she was born different, with both male and female parts, and how this made it hard to be completely herself. Kachi listened with a surprised but loving look. "Oh, Kessie," she whispered, "that's a big secret to carry. But you are still the wonderful Kessie I know. Your heart is kind, and your spirit is strong." Kessie felt a little better after telling Kachi, as if a small weight had been lifted. She hugged Kachi, grateful for her friend's kindness. As Kessie left Kachi's house, she felt a bit lighter, but still worried about what might happen next. However, as day turned to night, the secret Kessie shared began to spread. Kachi, feeling overwhelmed by what she had learned, ended up telling her family. She asked them to keep it a secret, but it was too intriguing not to share. Little by little, the secret circulated through the village like the wind among the leaves. Everyone added their own conjectures and thoughts, and soon the whole village was abuzz with the news. "Have you heard about Kessie?" they whispered near the well and in the market. "She is different, she has both parts." The rumors flew around the village, reaching every corner. Some felt pity for Kessie, others were surprised, and a few looked at her with disdain. Kessie could feel how people's attitudes toward her had changed. They no longer looked at her the same way, their eyes were filled with questions. Tar also heard the rumors and felt a mix of anger and sadness. He loved Kessie regardless, but he felt unsettled that she hadn't trusted him with her secret. Kessie's life changed overnight due to the rumors. The girl who had once been loved by everyone in the village was now at the center of gossip and speculation, her deepest secret shared with the world without her consent. Over time, the rumors about Kessie became more cruel and painful. Instead of smiles and friendly greetings, people would look away and whisper as she passed. Her great secret had been exposed, and this changed how everyone viewed her. Respect and admiration turned into something much colder. Tar was also very upset. He felt betrayed because Kessie hadn't told him such an important truth about herself. He loved her very much, but he was also angry and confused. All the talk in the village made things even harder. One night, with a heavy heart, Tar said to Kessie, "I think you should stay away for a while, until things calm down." Kessie felt shattered by Tar's words. Her home, once filled with happiness and dreams, now felt so empty and cold. She packed her things silently and left, slipping away as the afternoon turned into night. Kessie found a small cabin hidden at the edge of the village, surrounded by dense bushes and willows. There, she tried to find a bit of peace, away from all the looks and comments. This little cabin became her refuge, a place where she could be alone with her thoughts. But even in her quiet hideaway, Kessie felt the pain of being rejected. The happiness she once felt had vanished, replaced by a deeper, sadder wisdom. She spent her days walking alone in the forest, talking to the birds and finding some comfort in the sounds of the wind in the leaves. However, loneliness wrapped around her like fog on the grass. Kessie, who had been so loved, now felt like a shadow in the village, almost invisible. Being rejected by her friends and neighbors hurt her deeply, as they were the same people she had grown up with. As the seasons changed, the village faced a terrible drought. The green fields turned to dust, the crops withered, and the river that once flowed joyfully through the village was now just a slow stream. The villagers watched helplessly as their food supplies dwindled. Night brought no comfort, only strange, frightening sounds. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and unsettling cries floated in the air, making even the bravest tremble. No one could sleep well, and a deep fear spread through the village like a dark fog. Desperate, the village elders gathered under the great baobab tree. They were deeply concerned and decided to seek help from the oracle. The oracle was a wise person who could speak with the gods. With hopeful hearts, they went to her cabin at the edge of the village, in the flickering torchlight and with the thick scent of incense in the air. The oracle listened to their worries and, after a long and tense pause, spoke in a deep voice that filled the space, "The gods are angry. Our world is unbalanced. Only a pure and intact woman can set things right and bring back rain and peace." The elders looked at each other, worried. They needed to find someone pure for the sacrifice, but the oracle also hinted that something bad could happen to that person. Desperate, they decided not to tell this to the villagers. When they returned, the elders called everyone to a large meeting around the fire. The villagers' faces showed fear and worry as they gathered. Who will take on this enormous task? Who will make the sacrifice? They whispered among themselves. They began the search for a virgin maiden who could help, but to their surprise, no young woman in the village was still a virgin. All had been touched and were no longer pure. After a long search, the elders called another meeting and declared that they did not have this maiden, and that the difficulties might continue until the gods chose to smile again. But as they spoke, someone thought of Kessie, who once was loved by everyone but now lived alone. "Kessie is pure, she hasn't been touched by any man," said a villager, with a spark of hope in his eyes. "Perhaps she is the one the gods want." This idea spread quickly. "Yes, Kessie can save us all," agreed the villagers, desperate for any solution. With heavy hearts, the elders went to Kessie's cabin. The torches cast eerie shadows as they walked, and the flickering light announced their mission. Kessie, sensing the weight of their visit, let them in. The elders told her about the village's problems and what the oracle had said, omitting the part about the possible danger of the sacrifice. "Kessie has always been special," they said. "Perhaps you are destined to do this. You can help us. You will be the chosen one." Kessie felt torn between her past pain and her love for the village. Looking at the familiar faces, she felt strong again, like she used to be. With surprising calm, Kessie said, "I will go for the village, for all of us." The elders felt relieved that she accepted, but saddened by the heavy burden Kessie was taking on. As they walked back, the path seemed darker, and the shadows lengthened, reflecting the weight of what was to come. When the first light of dawn painted the village with soft hues, a tense silence filled the air. Today was the day of the sacrifice, a moment woven with hope and fear. The village elders, along with a few chosen villagers, solemnly approached Kessie's secluded cabin. They brought sacred items for the offering, fragrant herbs, precious grains, and a small lamb adorned with ornaments. Kessie spent a restless night in contemplation, facing the reality of her task. When the sun rose, she stepped out wearing a simple white tunic, her face serene and her gaze determined, embodying a quiet strength. The elders bowed their heads in deep respect as they met her. Kessie spoke, one of the elders, with a heavy voice of emotion, "Today you do what none of us could do. You take our hopes to the sacred cliff, where the earth meets the sky." Kessie took the handful of offerings, her voice strong and firm. "I am ready. I do this for our future, for all of us," she declared, while the whole village watched. Kessie began her solemn march, walking purposefully through the village, across the dry fields, and toward the high cliff known as the place where mortals could speak to the gods. The villagers followed her at a distance, a silent procession honoring her courage. At the cliff, she carefully arranged the offerings as she had been taught. Then she raised her arms and began an ancient chant, her voice resonating with her people's deep fears and hopes. As she sang, the sky darkened and the clouds swirled above, responding to her voice. A strong wind began to blow, wildly stirring against the darkened sky. The villagers below watched with a mix of awe and anxiety. Kessie's song intensified, rising above the roar of the wind. Suddenly, the wind stopped, and a beam of sunlight broke through the clouds, bathing her and the offerings in golden light. In that moment, something invisible struck Kessie, causing her to fall to the ground. A gasp of fear and concern rose from the crowd. But before anyone could react, raindrops began to fall. Gentle at first, then quickly transforming into a downpour, signaling that the gods had accepted the sacrifice. Cheers of joy erupted in the village as the rain continued, a sign of favor from the gods. They danced and embraced, relieved and filled with joy. Meanwhile, Kessie began to regain consciousness, feeling the rain wash over her. She felt different, lighter. Amazed, she realized that her male parts, the source of so much hidden pain, had disappeared. Finally, she was whole in the way she had always desired. Feeling immense relief and happiness, Kessie touched her abdomen, finding only the soft fabric of her clothes. Tears rolled down her cheeks, not from pain or sadness but from a profound sense of freedom. She turned to the elders and the villagers, smiling radiantly, "The part of me that brought so much fear is gone." The villagers were stunned, and their surprise quickly turned into cheers. The gentle rain continued to seem to cleanse away any lingering doubts or fears, marking a new beginning not just for Kessie but for everyone. Leaning on the elders, Kessie walked back to the village, lighter and freer with each step. Those who had stayed behind noticed the change in her and the happiness in her eyes. Soon the whole village was in an uproar, and everyone came to see the woman who had given so much and been transformed by a touch of the divine. "Look," they exclaimed, astonished. "She has been blessed by the gods." They gathered around her, touching her hands and shoulders, as if to ensure it was real, that the miracle had truly occurred. Kessie addressed everyone, her voice strong despite her recent experience. "The gods accepted our offering," she explained. "They have given us rain and blessed me with a change that freed me from my hidden pain. Let us begin anew, together in unity and acceptance." The villagers' eyes filled with tears of joy and relief. Tar, emotional and filled with a new understanding, stepped forward and took Kessie's hands. "Kessie, you are truly incredible. Can you forgive me for my doubts and impatience before?" Kessie, with her heart as open as the clear sky, smiled and hugged Tar. "There is nothing to forgive," she whispered. "Today, we both have changed." The celebration that night was like no other. More than a party, it was a celebration of spirit and community. The songs and dances continued all night long, as everyone, young and old, celebrated Kessie's incredible transformation and the renewal of their land. Standing beside Tar, Kessie felt the warmth of community wrapping around her like a soft blanket. She knew her life would be different now, filled with new challenges and joys, but she was ready to face them head-on. The gods had given her a gift, and she would honor it by living her truest life. In the village, which had embraced the power of acceptance and love, in the days following Kessie's incredible transformation, there was a renewed sense of unity and joy. The recent rain had not only revived their thirsty land but also helped cultivate a deeper understanding and acceptance among the villagers. Kessie, who once had been isolated and misunderstood, was now celebrated at the heart of the community. Her courage and resilience shone brightly. Deeply moved by Kessie's bravery and the significant changes she had experienced, Tar approached her with a heart overflowing with love and respect. Standing before the whole village, he proposed to Kessie once more, now fully understanding her journey and the true essence of her being. Kessie, holding his hands tenderly, said, "You have taught us all about strength and sacrifice. I ask not only for your hand in marriage but also for your forgiveness. I promise to stand by your side forever." With tears of happiness in her eyes, Kessie accepted Tar's proposal. Their second ceremony was a splendid celebration of their renewed commitment, and the support of the village was more than just the union of two people. It was a community celebration of resilience and the victory of acceptance over fear and prejudice. As Kessie and Tar exchanged their vows under the blue sky, the villagers gathered around, their faces shining with happiness. They danced, sang, and shared stories about Kessie's bravery, praising her. The children played joyfully, their laughter mingling with the festive music, while the elders discussed the valuable lessons they had learned about the power of acceptance and unity. Kessie was honored not just as a heroine but as a symbol of overcoming fear and emerging stronger. She became a beacon of hope for anyone who felt different or misunderstood, a living proof that personal challenges can lead to collective success. During this celebration, Kessie paused to observe the faces of her fellow villagers, faces that once looked at her with suspicion, but now showed pride and warmth. She felt an overwhelming sense of belonging, finally recognized and valued for all she was. Moral of the story: this tale teaches us that we should never reject or underestimate others, for they may be exactly what we need most. It underscores the idea that helping others often leads to receiving unexpected help in return, illustrating the interconnectedness of community and the power of acceptance. I hope you enjoyed the tale. If so, please give a like on the video, share with family and friends, comment, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell for more enchanting stories like this. Reflection: have you ever wondered how God can use your difficulties for a greater purpose? What steps can you take today to be more accepted and to accept others in your life? How can we come together as a community to support one another?